The Analyst Booking Room, Giulia's U.S. title run, her second run. When a championship reign becomes more than a statistic, it turns into a statement. Tonight, we're not just talking defenses, we're talking legacy. The women's U.S. title is young, but its story is being written in bold strokes by a champion who refuses to coast. Every match is a test, every challenge a chance to redefine what dominance looks like. This isn't about who steps up, it's about how the standard gets set. Welcome to the blueprint for a reign that demands respect. The WWE Women's United States Championship stands as SmackDown's secondary women's title, a belt introduced on November 8, 2024, to give rising stars and proven contenders a platform to shine. Fast forward to January 2nd, 2026, Giulia recaptured the championship on SmackDown, making a record-tying second reign, and cementing her status as the cornerstone of the division. Just days later, on January 9th, she turned back Alexa Bliss in a hard-fought contest, though the finish came with an unexpected twist. Lash Legend's interference didn't just tip the scale, it fueled the ongoing multi-team rivalry for the women's tag team title, adding another layer of intrigue to the road ahead of that storyline. But that's not what this booking room segment will focus on, since I already did a booking room for that storyline a couple of weeks ago. With the championship picture set and Giulia standing tall, the question becomes, what's next for the U.S. title? The answer isn't immediate chaos, it's calculated progression. Before the looming shadow of WrestleMania and Chelsea Green's ambition to take center stage, Giulia faces a series of challengers designed to test her versatility and resilience. The first name on that list? A rising star with athleticism and heart to spare, Kelani Jordan. This short feud isn't about shock value. It's about proving that Giulia's reign isn't a fluke and that every defense adds weight to her legacy. Let's break down how this opening chapter sets the tone of everything that follows. So let's step in my booking room and see how I would be booking Giulia's second U.S. title reign from now until WrestleMania. So with Giulia's second reign underway and Chelsea Green circling like a shark, the U.S. title picture takes an unexpected turn. Not because of politics, but because of circumstance. This wasn't a random opportunity. It was a calculated move. My original plan was B-Fab, but her injury forced a change of direction. Enter Kelani Jordan, a dynamic athlete from NXT whose call-up isn't just a promotion, it's a statement. And she's not waiting for permission. On her first night, Kelani walks straight to the champion's space, looks Giulia in the eye, and says, I want that title. So week 1 on SmackDown. Giulia and Kiana James are backstage talking about Giulia's reign when Kelani interrupts. I didn't come here to sit in catering, I came here to make an impact. Giulia, you got the belt I want. Let's make it official. Giulia, calm as surgical, fires back. Impact is earned in the ring. You'll get your chance. Later at night, the match happens. Kelani goes for a split-legged moonsault, but Giulia's rolls through and traps her in the octopus hold before flipping into a flash cradle for the pin. Giulia retains, but the message is clear. Kelani is no pushover. Post-match, Chelsea Green appears on stage with Alva Fire smirking. The seeds are planted for what's coming. Nick Aldis makes a match for the following week. Giulia and Kiana versus Chelsea and Alba. That match ends with Giulia pinning Alba after a Northern Lights bomb, but there's a subtle moment. Kiana mistimes a rope assist. Giulia notices but lets it slide. So we get to Saturday night's main event that brings the rematch. Kelani hits the moonsault this time for a dramatic near fall, but Giulia absorbs the momentum and counters into a Northern Lights bomb for the definitive win. After the bell, Chelsea and Alba ambush Giulia. Kiana makes the save, but hesitates a bit. Another seed planted. This chapter isn't a filler, it's foundation. Kelani Jordan's call up fills the gap left by B-Fab's injury. But it also gives Giulia a chance to showcase her ability and adaptability. 2 matches, 2 different finishes, and 1 clear message. The champion isn't just surviving, she is evolving. Phase 2 of the build-up. Lola Vice brings the fight. Giulia isn't here to validate anyone. She's here to humiliate them. After dispatching Kelani Jordan, the champion doubles down on her message. This title isn't a stepping stone, it's a wall. When Lola Vice steps up, Giulia doesn't see a worthy opponent. She sees another name to break and another body to leave behind. So Giulia and Kiana are backstage bragging about ending Kelani's hype when Lola interrupts. You think you're untouchable? Let's see how tough you are when you're staring at me across the ring. Giulia smirks. Cute. You want to fight? I'll give you a lesson instead. And the match is set for the following week. So you got Giulia versus Lola Vice for the U.S. title. Lola comes out swinging, literally, dropping Giulia with a spinning back fist, but Giulia fakes a knee injury, lures Lola in, rakes her eyes, and hits the butterfly suplex into a jackknife pin for the win. Post-match, Giulia stands over Lola, sneering, "Welcome to SmackDown, rookie." And Chelsea and Alba clap sarcastically from the stage, fueling tension. Lola earns her rematch by beating Alba clean the following week. And then she says, "I beat your enforcer, now I'm coming for you." But Giulia responds coldly, "You should have stayed down the first time." The rematch is set for Elimination Chamber. So February 28th in Chicago. Lola targets Giulia's ribs with body kicks. Giulia mocks her mid-match, slapping her face. Lola lands a spinning back fist that nearly ends it, but Giulia rakes the eyes again and locks in the octopus hold. Lola refuses the tap, passes out, and the ref calls it. Giulia retains decisively, smirking as officials check on Lola. Chelsea storms the ring with Alba for a beatdown. Kiana makes the save, but hesitates before pulling Giulia clear. The slow burn continues. This feud flips the tone. Lola fights with honor. Giulia fights dirty. 2 matches, 2 different finish. First a cheap pin, then a brutal ref stoppage. And both send the same message. Giulia is defending the title. She's defending her ego. Meanwhile, Chelsea Green keeps lurking, turning every post-match into a reminder that the real storm is coming. Then we get phase 3. Candice LeRae steps up. By now, Giulia's reign has become a statement of dominance and arrogance. But not everyone is intimidated. Candice LeRae, a veteran with a mean streak, steps up. Not for honor, but for opportunity. This isn't respect versus disrespect. It's ego versus ego. 2 heels, 1 title, and zero sportsmanship. So Candice interrupts Giulia and Kiana during a backstage brag session. You've been busy padding your stats with rookies. How about you try someone who knows how to break bones? Giulia smirks. You? You're a footnote waiting to happen. The match is set for the next week, and Chelsea cuts a promo. So the match is set for the next week, and Chelsea cuts a promo later mocking Candice as another distraction before the real challenge at Mania. So the following week, Giulia versus Candice for the US title. Candice fights hard, but Giulia's ruthlessness wins out. Northern Light Bomb, 1, 2, 3. Giulia stands over Candice, taunting, "Veteran? You just learned your last lesson." This wasn't about respect, it was about hierarchy. Candice tried to prove experience trumps arrogance, but Giulia's heel tactics kept the champion's reign intact. And with Chelsea Green looming larger every time, this one feels less like a challenge and more like a countdown to WrestleMania. So then we really start the road to WrestleMania and the match between Giulia and Chelsea Green that would happen at WrestleMania. So Giulia has cut through challengers with ruthless precision, but Chelsea Green isn't just another opponent, she's a strategist. Backed by Alba Fire and soon a new recruit, Chelsea turns this feud into a numbers game. For Giulia, it's no longer about dominance, it's survival. And every week, the tension builds towards Las Vegas. So, Chelsea interrupts Giulia in ring. You've been padding your record. At Mania, I'm taking your crown. Giulia smirks. You can't take what you can't touch. Alba blindsided Giulia with past promo. Kiana makes the save, but hesitates before pulling Giulia clear. Week 11. Giulia versus Chelsea in a non-title match. Giulia dominates early with vicious heel tactics, but Chelsea fights back. And then the twist. Carmen Petrovic debuts. While Alba distracts the ref, Petrovic lands her finishing maneuver on Giulia. Chelsea hits the unpretty her and pins Giulia clean. Chelsea gloats. If I can beat you once, I can beat you when it counts. The Green regime stands tall over Giulia, and Kiana looks conflicted. Week 12. Giulia and Kiana versus Alba and Carmen. Giulia pins Carmen with a Northern Lights bomb, sending a message before Mania. Post-match, Chelsea blindsides Giulia. Green regime breathe down until Kiana clears the ring, but the hesitation is still visible. So on the go-home SmackDown, Chelsea opens the show, flaunting her non-title win and tag victory. I've beaten you twice already. At WrestleMania, I make it official. Giulia walks out with Kiana, cold and arrogant. You'll need all three of you, and it still won't be enough. The Green regime attacks. Chelsea holds the title over Giulia as the show closes. And she says, "This is mine." Giulia versus Chelsea Green for the Women's United States Championship. So Giulia starts aggressively, rope chokes, mocking slaps, trash talk. You don't belong in this ring. Chelsea counters with resilience and near falls. Alba distracts the ref. Carmen slides in a chair. Kiana neutralizes Alba, but hesitates when Chelsea is vulnerable. Chelsea goes for the unpretty her. Giulia counters into the octopus hole, transitions into the Northern Lights bomb for the clean pin. Giulia stands tall, clutching the title. Chelsea exits furious, signaling her move to the women's world title picture. Kiana stares at Giulia from the apron, no attacks yet, but the tension is palpable. So what is the WrestleMania aftermath? Well, WrestleMania might end with Giulia standing tall, but the cracks are already showing. Kiana James has been the loyal strategist until now. Every hesitation, every late save, every lingering stare tells the same story. Betrayal isn't a question, it's a countdown. When it happens, Giulia's arrogance will shatter, and the champion who mocked respect will fight for it. That's the moment she flips from villain to warrior, a babyface reborn in fire. And while Giulia braces for the storm, Chelsea Green is not done making headlines. WrestleMania won't be her last shot. It'll be her launch pad. The Green regime's mastermind is already plotting the next move. Money in the Bank. Picture it. Chelsea with the briefcase, the ultimate opportunist, waiting for the perfect moment to cash in and claim the Women's World Championship. The US title was the appetizer. The main course, the crown. But the thing is, Chelsea has already said that she would like to be the first woman to fail her cash in. But I wouldn't do that. I would give the title to Chelsea with the Money in the Bank briefcase. So what do you think? Does Giulia's reign survive the storm, or does Chelsea Green's empire rewrite history? And when Kiana finally pulls the trigger, will Giulia rise as the hero the division needs? Plus, how dangerous does Chelsea become with that Money in the Bank briefcase in her hands? Hit me up with your fantasy booking, your predictions, and your dream scenarios. Drop your take in the comments and tag me on socials. And let's keep the conversation going. Because in the Analyst Booking Room, the story never stops. It just evolves.